Don't we usually get a little thing where we have to click to agree to be recorded?
Yeah, it came through on my end.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just didn't see it.
But not on mine either. I was waiting for it.
All right. Well, I believe we are all recording and live on YouTube, so you can go ahead and open the meeting.
Hey, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 6:31. And get that down. Gonna do a little roll call. Or I have a quick prepared statement. I don't know if I should say that now or after the roll call. I guess let's
Go
do
ahead and do the roll call.
let's do the roll call
Do
first.
the roll call first, yeah.
Okay, Ren Blight.
Here.
Right. Fred Iberry here. Tess Taylor.
Here.
Mark Stephenson. I think he's excused. I'll mark him as excused for now. Robert Chabelli.
Yes.
Brandon Whalen.
Present.
Rob Babini.
Here.
Lee Jameson. I can see you, but I couldn't hear you, Lee. I think you said you're here, so I'm going to mark you.
He said present. I mean, he mouthed.
And then,
Okay.
last but not least, Matt Kamen.
I am here.
Okay. Well, there we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fred Iberry, and I am the new co-chair of the Planning and Land Use Committee, along with Ren of the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council. Tonight, we will try a new structure to run our meetings more efficiently. Board member Matt Kamen is now responsible for the technical aspects of the meeting, such as when someone raises their hand, Matt will help monitor that, and speaker timing, handling the microphones, etc. Going forward, I will conduct meetings, create meeting agendas, and draft meeting minutes. I'm very excited to work with all of you, and I look forward to accomplishing many things together. With that, we have a very big meeting tonight with a lot to cover. So let's move on to the minutes from last meeting. At this point, I think someone else needs to read a motion, or can I read this, or to make a motion, or does someone else have to do that?
You would read the motion that's written on the agenda. You would ask for a first and a second to open discussion.
Okay.
And once you have a first and second, then you can open discussion on the motion.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. I'd like to move to approve the minutes from the January 10th Plum meeting. Do I have a first?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Bob, first. Do I have a second?
I'll do it.
Okay. Okay, can we have discussion? I heard crickets. What happened to that? Lee sounds like he's outside. Can we have discussion on the minutes? Any hands?
Just thank you.
Call for a vote.
Yes.
There is
There were a couple hands, and I do want to say we don't have any call-in folks tonight, but if you do ever notice that there are people calling in, attendees calling in, make sure to give instructions for how to raise a hand for someone who's dialing in. You would press *9 to raise your hand.
Get to talk at the beginning of minutes before we vote on minutes.
Yes, we need to have discussion, and there are a couple hands up. So Matt, I'll let you take over.
Fantastic.
And this is discussion just for the board members on the minutes, not the public.
Okay. So, well, Brandon, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. I just these are good minutes. I appreciate them, and I appreciate the case numbers. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I support this motion.
Thank you, Brandon.
And Tess has her hand up.
Great, thank you. So equally, I danced from room to room with joy when I saw the planning case file numbers here in the meeting minutes. So thank you very, very much. I hope that they can be carried over to the agendas. This is precisely what I've been asking for some time. I have just been notified that the meeting minutes of the last 3 meetings are not on the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council website. And I didn't have an opportunity to confirm that or not confirm it. And I understand that there are some changes being made to the website. I've been seeing some things going on in outreach. I'm on that committee. So if maybe you could give me a moment, or maybe one of the stakeholders calling in can comment on whether the meeting minutes are there or not. I'm just saying this is a notification I received. So I'm looking right now. Just letting you know.
Tess, I want you to hold off the minutes from prior meetings that are still on hold have to remain on hold because there's still some technical things that are being looked at there. So they're on our agenda for tonight under 6, but I think we'll have to put those off again to the next meeting until they can be posted and out to the members with enough time for everybody to look, because you remember there were a couple of them that we had a tie vote. So they
Okay.
in the past. So we need to make sure that the corrections are there. So
Okay, so then just to
No
review,
problems.
just to review, Ren, you're saying that the meeting minutes for November 8th, 2021, August 9th, 2021, and June 14th, 2021 are currently not on the GTLNC website because they're being updated, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, all right, because it says review and approve committee minutes, but they're not there to approve. All right, otherwise, I think these are thorough minutes and I appreciate them. And I thank you for including the case numbers, hooray.
Okay.
Okay,
So we have a motion.
okay,
You do, since this is an agenda item, you do need to open discussion to the public if the public has comment on it.
okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay,
I don't think that's right, but go ahead.
if that's
Yeah.
the case,
You've got one hand up, Jonathan. I'm going to allow you to talk.
Thank you. To be clear on the minutes, 2 days ago, I looked at the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council, and the minutes that you're approving tonight on number 6, but now you're not, were posted, but they weren't marked draft. But now, an hour ago, they weren't on the website anymore. Thank you.
okay. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tess.
yeah, so I have a question. So if we're going to vote to approve these minutes, they will have to be amended because because item 3.1 says that we are going to review and approve the minutes, which in fact we are not because they are not on the website. So apart from that, needing to be updated.
Point of order, Tess. No, you're jumping ahead. We're on motion A, approve January's minutes, and we're all good to go to just talk about January's minutes. And,
Okay,
and Ren was saying 6 under old business are motions B, C, and D. So we can talk about that
Correct.
more later. So just so that they're segmented. So do you follow? Are you
no, I don't quite follow. So what I'm saying is that I'm okay with the January 10th minutes, but for the fact that they reference something which we cannot review and approve now per Ren. Do you follow me, or am I not reading this correctly?
If the minutes themselves are referencing something that is incorrect, then that is one thing. Like if it says that you had approved something when in fact you hadn't yet approved it, that would be something that needs to be fixed. But if it merely references past minutes and at that meeting, it correctly states whether or not they were approved, then there's not an issue.
Okay, okay, all right, so then, okay, I'm clear now. Sorry about that. I just thought, never mind. Okay, I just thought that since it said we were reviewing and approving them and they're not available, that we can't do that, but I understand. Okay, onward.
Okay,
All right, anyone else? No. Okay, so I'm gonna do the roll call for the votes. Ren Blight,
yes,
Fred Iberry, yes. Tess Taylor,
Yes,
Mark Stevenson, he's out. Bob Scabelli,
Yes.
Brandon Whalen,
Yes.
Ron Babini.
It's Ron, but
No, it's Ron. Ron.
Frank, by the way, I just, yes.
Yes. Lee Jameson
That's affirmative.
you have to put your on speaker.
and Matt Kamen.
Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you the vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yeses. And Mark, is he like just, I don't count him. So 8-0. And the motion passes. All right, next segment we have general public comment. And do we have anyone from the audience for that?
Yes, Jonathan, I'm going to allow you to talk. You've got 3 minutes.
Thanks very much. Catherine, I just want to call out to your attention that when you speak, your name isn't showing. It says Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council is speaking, okay? I'd like to talk about 3 different things. Number 1 is the integrity of the committee. That has come up in the past, and just by merely putting a co-chair in place doesn't make the issue disappear. Clearly, I stated that there was behavior on the part of the chair, Ren, during the meeting of November 8th, where he was being a cheerleader for beautification partners, where it's even unclear what his role is there because there's nothing properly declared. He's a member of it. He's not a member. I don't know what's going on, but what I saw wasn't correct. Other people talked about benefits. And Bob said he didn't know where these people were coming from. Me neither. So I went online and I did some looking. Where is this all coming from? And I don't know if it's current or not, but Ren evidently has a company called Ren Blight and Associates. And I just want to read to you what I found. And what's concerning to me is that Ren has remained tight-lipped. He has said nothing in order to state his integrity, his compliance with all of the laws of the land. So what this says is Ren Blight and Associates offer consulting services for profit, nonprofit businesses in project development and project delivery. Ren Blight and Associates has knowledge of and access to sources of support to get project programs planned, funded, and completed. Now, when I came across that, I just thought, well, that's concerning. That's the kind of thing that a neighborhood council wants to understand. So at this point, I just merely want to state that the neighborhood council has been put on alert. That raises the standard of knowledge that's expected from the neighborhood council. It's in you board members' hands to have proper declarations and that the whole issue of integrity is maintained. Complacency is not acceptable. Thank you on that issue. The next issue I wanted to talk about is the agenda. I'm always appreciative for the work that you're all doing. The agenda has some problems with it. Let's see, I already said the minutes were missing. They came down off of the website before I could even look at them, but they were there before. There's no address on on that project that's the, how do you call it? The post office. There is not an address. So when I was looking to do a street view of all of these places, I couldn't really do anything with it. There's no number 3. So when you're writing the agenda, somebody went quickly and didn't double check that there was an order. What I would recommend for organization is it doesn't take a scientist to figure all of this stuff out. I think that you need an open log of projects where every open issue is listed with all of its information, and then you could just refer back to it on your agendas. That way you've got one central log of all open issues. One of the reasons I think not having a log of open issues is a problem is because since June, there's really never been a discussion about that clock that the neighborhood council put $5,000 into. That's an open issue, as there are other open issues, and long periods of time pass where there's no update. And I think that has to be captured on a log that has a neighborhood council number and a description of the actual issue. And that way everyone can look back at the issue, including the log, including the case numbers and so forth. So you don't have to redress it on every single agenda, but you really have a log that people can refer back to. Thank you very much.
Perfect. In 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan. Now we're moving on.
I do want to remind everyone, and this includes both the public and board members, that please do not make accusations unless you have specific evidence that someone has actually committed an infraction. Generalized accusations are not acceptable for neighborhood councils.
Okay, I see Ren has his hand up.
Yeah, I normally wouldn't respond to something like the comments, but I haven't been Ren Blight and Associates for more than 20 years. So there was a time, yes, before neighborhood councils were even in existence. I worked as a consultant. I was very involved in a variety of planning and development issues, finance and all of that. But I've retired from that. I'm no longer receiving any funding and haven't for a long time from any developers. And I think our public person there has, he's done a lot of digging, but if he did his job at all effectively, he would have seen that that was ancient history and had nothing to do with my service to Toluca Lake.
And just for information only, nobody's made any accusations.
Okay, I think anybody else? Okay, if I don't see anyone else, we're going to move on to the next segment. The agenda item 4 is not on this printed form, so it's now going to be number 5, which is committee member news and announcements. And what we're going to do is have another public comment at the very beginning of that right now. So if anyone from the public has a comment on committee member news and announcements, please raise your hand. Or any board members who have any announcements, please raise your hand. Okay, I see Tess and Brandon. And Tess was first, so go ahead, Tess.
Well, I'll let the public go first if the public has any comment. Otherwise, I'll take it away.
No hands raised from the public at the moment.
Okay, so I have a couple of items here. So who prepared the agenda?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay, Ren prepared the agenda.
Okay, so Ren prepared this agenda. Okay, so thank you. So a couple comments on it. First, at the top, it says Reynold Blight chair and Fred Eberry co-chair. My understanding is that you are now both co-chairs, therefore equals, and that Fred is not subordinate to Ren. So unless my understanding is incorrect, I'd love to see that change to reflect what was discussed. And I'd like to see these agendas come up to a higher professional standard, I would like to reiterate my offer to help with creating the meeting agendas and the meeting minutes. I'm very good at this and very detail oriented, and I'm available with advance notice or even on a regular basis to help with this if it's needed. Happy to do that, but I think we're all expected to rise to the occasion. And if people are not able to, fulfill this function, then they can delegate it or ask for help. I'm not sure this should even have to be mentioned, as it's self-evident. So if there's not enough time for the preparer to adequately prepare the agenda, then that's problematic. I was delighted to see the case numbers included in the meeting minutes. I'm not sure why they couldn't have been carried over to the agenda itself, because this is super important in order for people to be able to look up the case files and look at the filings and all of the materials that go along with this. So, if things change and if people get busy and their lives change and all of these things that happen that cause us to become overwhelmed, we know that circumstances change. And I don't want to be critical, but if somebody isn't pulling his weight, then it's not fair to anybody else, least of all to the people who elected us and to the rest of the community, or to the members of this committee who have a right to expect more professional performance in the creation of these agendas. So that's number one. I think it was noted that item number 4 is missing. I would love to see the city planning case files carried over, please. And I do have 2 updates regarding a stakeholder request to agendize an item, and also the Toluca Lake Post Office. So I spoke to John Alford in Congressman Sherman's office today to get an update on the disposition of the post office on Riverside Drive. He and I have been in touch. I spoke to him. He said he has made inquiries and that he has no response yet from the post office. He told me that Northridge is experiencing a similar problem with the post office moving and citizens in that area being upset and needing to know what's going on. I asked him, is the same postmaster responsible for both our areas? He said no, but he has delegated this to someone in his office and will get back to me. So that's to be continued. Just wanted to let you know that. And the other item is, this is somewhat tangentially related to an agenda item, but I want to bring it up anyway because it is also a standalone. A stakeholder has requested that the Greater Toluca Lake Neighborhood Council discuss and vote to send a letter of opposition to the TOC declared at Mariota and Riverside. And this is the post office current location, and that the Toluca Lake Chamber of Commerce is considering such a letter. So can we please agendize this for discussion at the next general board meeting?
Tess, can you clarify, do you mean the March general board meeting? The general board meeting for tomorrow, the agenda has already been published in accordance with the Brown Act.
I understand, and we can't do that, but yes, for the March general board meeting.
Okay, so not the plum meeting. in
Not
March.
the plum.
Well, he asked for it to be at the general board meeting. So, and since this has gone through committee already, I think that makes sense.
Okay,
So can we agendize that for the March general board meeting?
that would be a Colby question, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll ask Colby.
I think so.
I do just also want to very quickly, a point of order, clarify. If you are asking for a specific letter or language, then that would need to be prepared in advance of the meeting. We can't draft that language at that meeting. So make sure that if there's any material, any documents that need to go with this, they are all presented to Colby in advance of the general board meeting in March.
Okay, I will convey that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, next up, Brandon.
Thank you. As far as news and announcements, I wanted to highlight that the 2022 homeless count is happening next week, I believe. And you can go to theycountwillyou.org. It's kind of funny website. But anyway, this is in coordination with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority and the federal government, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, to create, a census that the data is very much needed to allocate appropriate resources for our unhoused community. So I wanted to highlight that. The date for our neighborhood in Toluca Lake is February 22nd, but I believe there might be training that you have to do before, but again, the website is theycountwillyou.org. So I'm going to send this. I don't know if it's been in the newsletter, but I think this is definitely worthy of something to be in the newsletter. The other item I wanted to ask that maybe we can have for, and really, like, I see this space, this line on the agenda, I would like it to be like an area where, similar to what Tess just said, like request things, but here I'm going to request things for Plum. Like I would like to hear the results of the Riverside Drive streetscape survey in one of our minutes, in the old minutes that we haven't approved yet. It said that they would be available in January or February. So hopefully those
I have them for you.
are available. Matt, can you
I can hear you.
mute me?
I just did.
Thank you. And then, so Riverside Drive streetscapes. And then the second thing I wanted to, this is more of like a general statement, but I would like to maybe have like space in the agenda to highlight council files that we can be more active in supporting or opposing or recommending amendments or what have you, to not only for things that are motions by city council members, and then we created a council file. That there's an affordable housing council file that was created. There's one that a change of the policy for the rent stabilization ordinance. These are important things for that go along in our committee, but also maybe a community impact statement in support of a state bill, like Assembly Bill 1944. This is by Assembly Member Lee. It's the second time that this bill has come. It was in last session, but it died in committee. But it reforms the Brown Act, and it allows for remote participation, such as this meeting, to continue beyond COVID protocols. So it's something that I'm supportive of, and I would like to see the city council support. So yeah, so I just, my next step is I'll email you, Fred, and Ren, and ask for this to be on, ask for specific things to be on the agenda, so that way it'll have like a motion, to request support and whatnot. So those were my items. Thank you.
Very good.
Um,
So Robert, Lee, and then Tess. That's the order.
Thank you. My comment goes back to Tess' request that a stakeholder made regarding a letter. As I understand it, Tess, the stakeholder requested that we send the council send a letter opposing the project. I just want to give some history. I mean, that project was approved by the then planning committee. It was approved by the city council, by the neighborhood council. And then subsequent to that, it was approved by city planning. So at this point, they have every right to go down to the building department. And I'm sure it's being held up because that was a rental project, and everything during this pandemic has pretty much been, our rental problem has been held up for good reason. So I don't know what kind of a letter the council can send unless there's been a marked change in the project to what we approved. That's, so I see a letter being moot unless you can show something that has changed.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, Lee, you're up.
Hi. I just have a question for Ran. Why didn't you come forward with all these questions about you being a developer, connected and all that last time when you were asked? It makes it look like you were trying to hide something and makes our council look really bad. You weren't trying to hide anything, were you?
I respect the time of all of the people, and for me to go into my background and history, where I went to high school, et cetera, it would be an insult, I think, to most people to be going through all of this background and history. I wouldn't bother to be on this committee, frankly, if I had projects that I was pushing. This is not the place to to get projects funded or approved politically. There's a whole different process for that, and the neighborhood council, as these projects go by, has an opportunity to reach in and make some corrections and ideally get some attention to some issues. But no, this is not where I would go if I were trying to make money. Let's put it that way. But, I'm sorry, Lee.
Okay, and finally, Tess.
That's all right. I think we all know what you're going at. I get it. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. So 2 comments, responses, and addendum. Brandon, I think that's a really great idea to have that section looking at ongoing council files. I was just reviewing the Studio City Neighborhood Council General Board meeting agenda tonight. It's 10 pages and it's just chock full of really good community impact statements on things that really matter and a lot of council files. So I wholeheartedly support that. And number 2, Bob, thank you for the history of that project. I am somewhat aware of it as it predates my my activity here on the neighborhood council, but I'm going to convey that to the stakeholder. And I think he does have new information to bring forward, but I'll make sure that that's clear and bring forward whatever is relevant. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, and the last hand that I see is Robert.
No, I lowered it.
Awesome. Okay, that's all you got, Fred.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. And now that brings us to, let me get in order here, section number 6. No, we just did the old business. That's right. Section number 6. Is that right? No, we're doing 6 last. We're going on to 7 now, actually, is what we're going to do. 7 updates. And for that, we go to quickly public comments. Anyone public comments for our update section?
I do not see any hands. No hand.
Okay, no hands. And we're going right through this. So I'm going to throw it over to Ren. We have
Hey,
a hand
Fred.
up. Oh, we got Brandon.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Why are we skipping 6?
We're not skipping it. We're putting it to the end. And we were doing that so the public doesn't really have to sit through that because they're not commenting on those minutes, from what I understand, on the old business. So we had an idea to push it to the end just to save the public time. But if you want to do it now, we can. Those
minutes are on hold anyway, so there's no reason for us to spend time discussing them. They'll be on our agenda for next time, and hopefully they'll be ready for people to review and approve.
Okay.
Let's save time for the real issues here.
So that's off completely. So Ren, it's all you. We're on to updates, item 7.
7.1, yeah, the criteria for developers on future projects in our community. We'd had a single meeting for that, and I think we'll have another special meeting towards the end of this month if we can get it set up. We want to develop a draft so that first our committee here can have a draft to review and then the full council. But we want to get it into a position where it's, at least some of us are agreed and it's, it's in a format that people can understand and we can work through quickly. 7.2, talk to the city planners who are doing our community plan. We actually, Toluca Lake is part of two subparts of the community plan. But anyway, the whole thing has been held up in part, I understand, from the planners because the city has taken the Mulholland plan, which was a special plan for the whole length of Mulholland Drive, both sides of the hill and so forth. And they're putting that into various community plans. So our Southeast Valley community plan areas has to include the Mulholland section. And so the planners got hung up on that for a while. They expect to have this come out in draft form April or May. And so I've been talking to the planner on that, and we will hopefully have time to review it and perhaps even have a special meeting where we just focus on the plan and the issues that are involved there. Board members have questions? Lee?
Yes, I do. My question, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is, Rand, do you, excuse me, do you live in an apartment or a house? And the reason I'm asking that, the people who live in an apartment, they'd rather live in a house, the majority of them. And I want to know if you get the feeling how it's like.
I live in an apartment
You do?
now, but I've lived in a house, in fact, number of houses over the years. So I've had experience in both settings. Tess, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, we skipped over the last item very quickly, and this may be for that special meeting, but I think it's important that prior notice to the most affected stakeholders must be a prerequisite of, any application that any development plan that's submitted to us before we will consider the project. I can certainly bring that up at that meeting, but I think it's important to state here and now, because too often I find that the public hearing notice comes after the neighborhood council vote, and it deprives stakeholders that are most affected of their ability to participate in decisions that are affecting their quality of life. So that is super important to me and to many, many residents. And on to item 7.2. Ren, could you please explain to me and to others here the significance, sort of black and white, financial and otherwise, to our community of the merging of this Mulholland Drive master plan into the Southeast Valley Community Plan? Is this good or bad? Is it indifferent? And what precisely are the ramifications to us?
Actually, I think very little ramifications. It just is delaying the completion of the draft plan, that's all. And I'm trying to keep on a, good conversational basis with the planners. But this has taken way too long to go from input to draft. And the thing I'm afraid of course, is that we'll kind of run out of time and they'll hurry through the end part of this and approve the community plan without proper input. So we all need to go when they finally hit us with the draft plan.
All right, en route. I'm coming.
Brandon, you had a question or comment?
Yes, but so the structure of this section is just, so you gave an update on 7.2, 7.1 and 7.2, but not 7.3 or 4.
I'm going to go on to those. Yeah, I'll touch those.
No, that's fine. But like, I also, I almost want, I think it might be better to have public comment after this section, because then the updates will be made. And then if there's any comments, so that's Fred, maybe that could be.
Well,
done.
the requirement, as I understand it, is that public comment comes either before or after, and that it's more expeditious to have the public comment first, so that we can talk about whatever issues or items are brought up by the public.
Sure, but like
Back and forth. I know there's some committees that operate on a back and forth freewheeling basis.
That's what I'm suggesting.
For our committee, it's particularly dangerous, because if we get into a pattern where the public is part of the conversation, if you will, then our meetings would never end.
Well,
Ren, may I
We have
clarify
really
what
hot
I think?
issues and hard issues.
May I clarify what I think Brandon might be saying, which is not that we're going to have a back and forth, but more so that you provide the update and then give the public an opportunity to perhaps ask a clarifying question once they've heard the update.
Yeah, so
Not to go back and
logistically,
forth.
it just doesn't make sense. But I understand for consistency, you know, if we start the meeting to have public comment before the items, like, I get it, but it doesn't make sense to have an update when you have an agenda that is just one sentence or not even. So it's my comment. So, but I wanted to share for the criteria of developers, I'm concerned that, you know, because I introduced this, I never liked the word, and I never proposed the word criteria, and I'm afraid that it's leading into something beyond what I originally intended. So whenever we have the special meeting, I'm assuming I'll be notified to prepare something, and I would like to just go ahead and just present my suggestion with feedback, like with, you know, hopefully, I was hoping that public comment can provide any like ideas, because it's on the agenda tonight. And then of course the feedback that was presented in December, and then I'll just present something at that meeting and we vote on it, or we vote on amendments, and that way we have like a streamlined, structured path. And then if it gets voted down, that's fine, but then we should brainstorm what folks actually want it to be, because it's going beyond what my intent. So
Okay.
thank you, Tess, for your suggestion.
Yeah, the word criteria may be inappropriate, and then we'll have to discuss that at the meeting.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
no hard feelings. I'm just saying
None taken.
I'm a writer. You know, words, you know, great. I didn't like criteria. So, and then, okay, I have comments on the last two, but Tess, thank you for the question about the ramifications of the Mulholland Drive addition. I think it's just delay, but I agree with the delay. So anyway, thank you, Ren. Continue.
Okay.
I guess Tess has.
Yeah, Tess, go ahead.
Yeah, Ren, who was the planner on this? And are we talking about two different planners for the Mulholland Drive and one for the community plan? Are they one and the same? And what about the Lancashire and the streetscape? The streetscape and the Lancashire streetscape plan, those have been mentioned too as being rolled into the community plan. Is this part of what we're talking about now? So first question, who were the planners?
Well, Miles Orr is the one who's leading the group there at the moment. And we're always nervous about the turnover in the planning people, but at the minute it's Miles Orr. And I don't know who's doing the Mulholland Drive plan. I think it doesn't affect us much unless you have friends or neighbors that live up there. So anyway,
Right, so then Miles is leading the Southeast Community Plan, Southeast Valley.
Southeast Valley Community Plan. There's 3 sections to it.
All right,
And when we get to it, we'll go into detail. I don't want to do it tonight, but there's, understanding which parts of Toluca Lake are in which plan areas and what the impact of that is we're going to have to get up to speed.
okay, thank you.
Brandon, do you have another comment?
No, sorry.
Okay, moving on to 7.3. The condo project, also it's sometimes designated 11003, sometimes it's 11001. But anyway, we've already talked about that condo project there, and Morse Park Street and Vineland. So it's now waiting for the planning department to come up with their report. In the meantime, people should keep an eye out. If there's anything that happens there, one of the issues is environmental. We may see the developer starting to do and clean up ahead of approval of his plan, which would not be a bad idea, I don't think. The sooner we get that property cleaned up, the better. Conversely, if they start to build the project without doing a cleanup or getting a sign off, why then, we've got to jump up and get attention on that. 7.4, 10459 Camarillo Street, proposed wall. I mentioned this at our last meeting. That's why it shows up here as something that's waiting in the wings. Again, it'll probably take the city a while to do a planning report on it. In the meantime, we can take a look at it when you drive by on Camarillo. We will have, I suspect, the neighbors of this project who will show up at our meeting when we do a formal motion to support or to oppose or ask for changes. But I wanted everybody to be aware that's on our agenda and it's out there. So that's the old projects. There's some other stuff out there that it's hasn't moved forward and they're just waiting. But we won't go into all of that. So let's move on to new business.
1 second, Ren.
For that.
May I?
I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. Regarding this wall, I was a little confused about what this guy is asking for. And I understand what your comments that will go into detail. But I think at this meeting, we might want to understand a little bit about what he's trying to do. And Fred sent me a plan. It was just an attachment to a text. So once I enlarged it, the resolution was hard to see. But from what I can see from this guy wants to put an 8-foot wall across his southern property line, all the way out to the property line, which would put it almost to the edge of the road. In fact, there's a utility cabinet there, and it looks like, and I'm asking for clarification. It looks like that wall is going to be right up cutting that utility cabinet and right off the road. And then it looks like he wants to carry that 8 foot to his frontage, which, as you all know, is a 42-inch max, but nobody abides by that, and build a walled-in garden. Now, from what you've seen in the plans, is that what he's asking for?
Is it 8 foot or 6 foot?
He's asked for 8
plans.
Yeah.
Fred, do you have the Camarillo plans for the Camarillo?
I do. It's 8 feet, and Bob is correct that it goes to the property line at 8 feet. It does not specify whether it's concrete or wood or iron, but it says fence/wall to the property line for 8 feet. Now, on their elevation, the drawing, it looks like a wood going horizontally type of wall, according to the drawing, the elevation. But yes, it's 8 foot wall. Bob is correct. All the way
Okay.
fine. And by the way, that tree there is not down. The trees stay just on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, that was my other concern,
Got
that
it.
he doesn't do damage to the roots of that. It's a very old tree and I would not want that damaged. But then he's carrying, if I understand it, he wants to carry that 8 foot to his frontage. That's a big change. The 8 foot
That's
wall
correct.
on the Camarillo, which is side yard, he's going to get that no matter what. But this 8 foot on his frontage is something else.
Yeah, technically, it's his side yard.
The Camarillo.
Yeah, no, I know, it's a major street.
Yeah, but his
way
frontage
it's-
is on that cul-de-sac.
Well,
And it looks like, I'm asking, I'm not telling, it looks like he's putting a wall on the frontage, on the cul-de-sac. So his
Yeah.
neighbors are gonna be pretty upset with that.
yeah, well, it's a, it's a funny development in there is, you know, if you drive by, you see there's 2 houses in the front and then a driveway that goes back to 2 houses in the
Well, clearly it was a single lot.
Technically, the way his house is, I'm sorry?
It used to be a single lot apparently, and now it's 4 lots.
Yeah, it was a big
You have
lot.
2 flag lots in the back and then 2 up on the front. I'm only bringing it up because we have to, vote on this as to whether or not we think this is a positive for the neighborhood or negative. And I'm trying to get a little more information, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to look at the plans and get the homeowner in to describe what it is that they're doing and see if we can get some compromise, if you will. If the committee wants it. I mean, if the committee wants to ask him to change it or reduce it, then I think we have that potential. See how receptive he might be to that, he or she might be to that. See other hands here. Tess, what do you want to say?
Hi, so I'm looking at the 27-page document related to this property. And in terms of what our committee would do, favor or disfavor this project, under the zoning administrator adjustment, I think, let's see, I'm looking at page 25 and 26 of this document. There's a page that says neighborhood contact sheet. Signatures of adjoining or neighboring property owners in support of the request are not required, but are helpful, especially for projects in single-family residential areas. Signatures may be provided below. Now, these 4 people listed, are they simply neighborhood contacts, or are they adjoining neighboring property owners who approve of this development? It's not clear from the language of the form. Can you clarify that for me?
We haven't asked that question yet.
Okay.
But I think once we, if we have a real sort of hearing on this in our committee meeting,
Okay.
we'll ask those people to show up and actually say, you've signed this. What are you supporting, or what do you understand is going to happen? Yeah.
Okay, then
We should get those people in to either back the project if they do, or to oppose it if they don't.
good. Well, I mean, because that's gonna have bearing on what we discuss and vote on as a committee, and the general board if it comes to that. But then is the original mailing list that is referred to on page 26, is that referring to the list on page 25? Because that also is not clear. And just to be abundantly clear, people within 500 feet of the property, and not just the adjutting or abutting and neighboring neighbors, should be notified, because if people have any objection or approval for that matter, they should have an opportunity to say something before this rolls into a decision that can't be reversed or is not so easily reversed. Is that clear?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
there will be a public hearing on this. I don't have a
Okay.
date, but
Okay, good.
No, we don't have a date yet, so
Okay,
we've got some time to to figure this out and get, ideally, get lists of the names of the homeowners around it so they can either show up and support their neighbor and say, yeah, we think he deserves this, or he's a, you know, or this is horrible and we don't want it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Brandon?
I don't know if this was already mentioned, but it has the applicant been invited to this committee? Like, what is the communication and like the protocol? And you know, you know, we clearly have questions, and like, why are we, if we aren't we in contact with the planner, if we're not in contact with the applicant, what are we talking about if we're just looking at the plans? Like, this is not productive.
Brandon, if I could answer that, I actually went to the guy's front door and rang his doorbell. I called him on his cell phone, got voicemail that's full, he can't leave a message, and I emailed him this week to invite him to this meeting. And I know Ren has done the same thing. So we have tried to contact him, but I don't know what else to do. Maybe I can leave a note at his front door, try that, but we have tried.
Well, what about the planner? Like, shouldn't the planner have the contact and like, you know, you work with city planning to facilitate a discussion?
I would love to.
Okay.
That would be terrific.
Okay.
No, Fred,
That'd be the most appropriate way. Okay.
can I just have a small comment, Fred? The appropriate people would be the architects who are doing the project, and they know exactly what's happening. The owners really don't. And I have his contact information. I wasn't going to call him out. That's your job, and Ren can do that. But we should call the architect, invite him, and have him explain the plans and what they're planning on to do. And I can, after the meeting, I can email you if you like the contact, or text you the contact.
Good.
At the architect's office is doing this.
All right.
Good. Okay, now we'll move on to 8.1. Do we want to have public comment ahead of section 8, or move on and let people raise their hand as we go? 8.1 is City Planning Department policy change. The planning department has been sending out packages to us. Fred has, what do you have, 4 now or 5?
4.
4, yeah. And the wall is a good example. They send out a whole packet of whatever they received in the application, and they've effectively notified us that something's going on, being proposed. And then it sometimes takes months and months and months for the planner to actually get to the case and write up a report. And then typically it's 6 to 8 weeks before the hearing. The planning department is now proposing to not send the package out to neighborhood councils until the planner has written their report. And I wanted to get some input tonight from various members of the committee. My personal feeling is that we want to oppose that because it doesn't give us enough time. If the planner does their report, why, for some of them, it's, they're just kind of, next. And our input it gets to be ignored or put aside. The other thing is that if the timing is wrong, it doesn't give us more than we might only have 2 or 3 weeks to actually get our information together. And if we're opposed to some part of a project, to rally around that, get the council office involved and so forth. So I'd like to recommend that that we have a motion for next meeting where we basically oppose this policy on the part of the planning department. It's not a council action, so we need to get through our city council person to get him to make noise with the planning department that this is not acceptable to the neighborhood council. And maybe, I suspect there are many other neighborhood councils that'll feel the same way. So we may be able to nip this in the bud. Any comments on that? No. 82-10050 Toluca Lake Avenue, overheight fence request. This is the one that's
Ren,
lake, basically. Oh, I'm sorry, Tess?
I agree. We should absolutely push that policy back. We need as much time as possible. So, and I hope the other committee members agree.
Okay, well, we'll get to it. Next meeting, I'll put together a motion and we'll go forward with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so back to the overheight fence on Toluca Lake Avenue. Fred, you want to comment on that? You've got the plans, right?
I do. Sorry,
Okay.
not eating and doing this, but okay. So yes, got plans. I scanned them, emailed them to the committee, and drove my bike around there, took some pictures, and basically the only comment I have is that every single property next to that, across the street, down the block, has a 6-foot fence on their property line next to the sidewalk. And this is a new house that was recently finished. It's the only one that doesn't have hard to not go with that. So, I think these things are kind of all a case by case scenario. And that's how I feel. Well, but it'd be a hard thing to tell them no.
Okay. So yeah, a number of us aren't happy with the fences in general going up in Toluca Lake. They're all over the place, and I think they send the wrong message about the quality of life in our community. But anyway, this particular fence is all the properties on either side have some variation on fences at the lot line, and the people, of course, their homes, look down on the lake, and they're fronted on the lake rather than the street. So I don't know if anyone feels strongly about this, why maybe we ought to talk about it, get the homeowner and the contractor in to at least describe to us what they're doing. I think the pictures in the plan is pretty clear. And we should share that out to the committee. Bob, you raised your hand, and then Tess.
Yes, just speaking for myself, I mean, the code is only 42 inches, which is 3.5 feet. And that's violated routinely, either asking for permission or just doing it without permission. So to say no to this homeowner is punitive, because he'd be the only one without a 6-foot fence. It's just a common thing. So I don't like it, because the reason it's in the code is because it does destroy the character of a neighborhood. Everybody wants a gated community, and everybody wants to feel more secure. And so I don't see any point in going forward with this at all. I would just let him go ahead and put his fence up. And it is fronted, by the way. It's on the lake, but it's the front. His door is on Toluca Lake Avenue. So.
Yeah. Tess?
Well, I think the code exists for a reason. It's a minimum acceptable standard. And the fact that other people have built above the standard is, one has to ask why. I mean, either the LA Municipal Code stands for something or it doesn't. So I would not approve a height increase, based on what I've seen. So I think we're here to uphold the code. It's there for a reason. So I recall just a couple of months ago, there was a big outpouring of an outcry about a fence or a wall on Navajo in Toluca Lake that was higher than code. And a dozen people came and testified at that, and they were rightfully peeved. So that's my feeling. I don't think it should be built higher than code permits.
Yeah. The one on Navajo was particularly egregious because there was, as I understand it, there was no plan submitted, there was no building permit, there was no inspection. And that we should not allow. I mean, we should, talk about the various applications that people put in and go through the process. But when somebody just cavalierly builds a wall, and to hell with the building code and the construction requirements and so forth, I think we should. And I'm glad that people stood up. And I think the rest of us need to try and stand up as well. Bob?
Yeah, again, I'm not to beat this to death, but this is, Tess and I, Tess particularly, we've been fighting a homeowner, including bringing in lawyers. This goes back to Jim McCarthy, who did the heavy lifting on this. And the impression is the city doesn't care. The city is not going to enforce it. So, he's nice enough to be asking, but a lot of these people have been built these things without asking. The city doesn't enforce the laws. Some hedges I've noticed are like 15, some 20 feet high hedges. And forget the 42 inches. They're going crazy. And as long as the city doesn't enforce it, that's where we're at. But Tess is absolutely right. The code is there, and technically we should enforce that code. But all through Toluca Lake, it's violated. It's not just one or two homes. It's 90% of the homes.
Well, I mean, this is where we prove our value as a committee. We're here about quality of life, and we can't undo what has been done before our terms. So we can only deal with what's being proposed now. True. And I say, either the code means something or it doesn't. And if it doesn't mean something, then why are we here?
Well, we're here for many reasons, but I mean, I guess the city can take that code, that provision out because it's not enforced.
Okay, well, let's
comment really quick about that. I wonder if there's a way, Ren, we could find out these homes that do have 6-foot walls legally, like they were approved to get that as an exemption, and what the reasons behind those cases were, if that would be helpful at all, just get that information. I don't even know if we can get it, but it just thought in my head that's around.
Well, I remember the wall that went up at Moore Park and Foreman. What is it, southwest corner anyway. I was up in arms about it, and then the council staff basically said, well, all of the neighbors have signed a petition supporting it. And
interesting.
Of course.
Believe it. So I actually knocked on doors. Yeah, I knocked on doors and said, did you really support the wall across the street? Oh yeah, okay, he's a good guy.
If they object, then they have to tear down their walls. So
yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, moving on. The Gelson Market at Mariota and Riverside. And that's actually, that showed up again on our agenda because they've applied for a liquor license for the Gelsons. And among other things, they want to serve alcohol in the market as well as, to go, bottled, alcohol. So the suspicion is they're planning, like wine tasting events and that sort of thing. And I don't know how the community feels about that. The traffic that's going to be created by this is going to be problematic. If you remember that when they proposed the project, the parking under the building is all for the residents. Second, third, fourth floor is all residential. And the parking under the building was for the residents. Not probably enough parking, but they met the legal requirement. But then the question becomes, what kind of parking and so forth are they going to provide for Gelsons? And where are they going to tear down the School of Rock building for more parking. There's just a whole bunch of questions, and the developers have not, shown up yet to answer these questions. I'm not sure an ABC hearing is the right place to start asking these questions again, but we need to get back on the agenda. Yeah, Bob?
Yeah, just a few added points. Going back to the history of that project, which is over 3 years or 3.5 years now. That was raised by the neighborhood council. Parking was a big issue because, as you point out, as a TOC project, the parking for the tenants is half of what it would normally be. So that created a problem. And we had got an agreement from the owner, the boys out of Burbank, got an agreement from the boys out of Burbank that they would provide parking for the tenants in the back. Part of that project is a complete rebuild of the parking in the back, all the way from that Marietta all the way down to Clyburn, and which is sorely needed. And it really is a big improvement with planting and lighting and smoothing. That whole area looks terrible if you have been in the back. So that parking would be for Gelson. And that was established that the tenants at the ground floor would be using that as parking. So he has agreed to all of that, unless there's been changes. It's been, as I say, over 3 years. It's worth a revisit.
Yeah, we need to see the current plans. Make sure they conform to what they agreed to back 3 years ago.
Is it confirmed that they want to serve liquor, Gelson? Is that confirmed?
Well, that's their request, yeah, to ABC.
Okay. Well, they need a liquor license to sell it, but I mean, I wasn't aware they were going to serve it.
Yeah, well, that was something that somebody picked out in the application. I haven't actually literally, but that I was told that was part of the application.
It's not a big space, so I can't. Anyway, anything is possible.
Are the current plans available, Ren?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
We need to ask for that. Get the developers to come back and meet with our committee. If they will, I mean.
Yeah, if they will. They don't, they're on their way.
Yeah.
If they've signed a lease with I have to believe they have a lease with Gelson, so.
Well, it probably is tentative until they get the ABC license. Because I wouldn't sign a lease with, expecting to get a liquor license. I would get the liquor license first. That's why I think this is the leading edge of what's going on, because without the liquor license, I think Gelson disappears.
Well, or they'll just give up serving and then just sell, as Trader Joe sells liquor and alcohol, so.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Gas stations sell alcohol, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even sure what date the ABC hearing is on. Does anybody know that? Yeah, we'll find that out.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay, Brandon?
Yeah, I just don't know why I'm worried that we talk about things that are rumors and we don't see all the information available. I liked your point though, Ren, when you said that you would get the liquor license before you sign a lease, and that was my question when I saw this on the agenda. I was thinking, okay, what are the ramifications if folks want to oppose this, and if that's the linchpin, then would Gelson's pull out? What would be the alternative? I know as Bob has talked about this project before, I know it's already approved. Will it just be a vacant lot? Would it, or a vacant, ground floor commercial? I want to be wary about those things and understand the scope and the ramifications and have something in front of us to talk about instead of just it's a Gelson's. I don't know. I don't know about you folks, but I don't want to go wine tasting at a Gelson's. Why is this a concern? This is just, it's a liquor license. It makes, if I was just throw up what I think of just an assumption, it just sounds like they're selling alcohol just like any other grocery store. Am I wrong? I don't know what the issue is. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're having a discussion, but I want to have information in front of me, and not just so.
Yeah,
Hopefully-
no, I understand what you're saying, and it would be good to be able to get the plans and see what specifically now is being proposed and make sure it conforms to what we had agreed to 3 years ago. Because they agreed to a number of changes, and Bob remembers that, probably Lee. Anyway, we need to see what they're finally doing, but this licensing is just the opening salvo, and we'll have to follow up. Tess?
Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor. I should have lowered my hand. Sorry.
Yeah, I may.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah.
Okay, last item is the mobile gas station at 10570 Riverside Drive has proposed a car wash around in the back. Fred, you want to talk about that? You've got the plans for that, right?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about that. So the mobile Riverside in Cahuenga, it's actually kind of a large property for a gas station. And on the east side of their property, there's quite a bit of room in the parking lot that they want to convert to a drive-through car wash. That only operates from 7 in the morning until 7 at night, even though the gas station is open 24 hours. The woman who runs it, her name is, or who owns it and runs it, her name is Mona, and she's been here as long as I can remember. I think that family's owned that station for many decades, and it's run very well. Personally, I don't really see a problem with putting a car wash there, especially if it's only run during the day. It is a commercial street. There's a commercial building next to it where the car wash is going to be right across the wall from, and across from next to the freeway. I mean, I think it's kind of a good spot for a car wash, to be honest with you. That's what I have to say. If you have any questions, I have the plan. I'm happy to. I think I may have scanned the papers, but I can photograph some information if you want to. Thank you.
Yeah. How close is the residential on Cahuenga? It's across the alley, right? But there is residential that's going to be.
That's true.
On the wall.
Yes, there is a residential across the wall, and it goes between Uckland and Cahuenga. On Uckland, it's a single family house. On Cahuenga, it's like a fourplex, I think it is, fourplex apartment from the 30s or 40s, across the alley from the gas station.
Yeah. Do they have the hours? Have they mentioned in their application what the hours of operation are?
They did, and the gas station is open 24 hours, but the car wash is only open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. So 12 hours for the car wash.
Okay. A little early for me, but 7 in the morning, but that's okay. No, that's reasonable.
Can we confirm the location? Is that on Auckland or where is that?
It's on the corner of Cahuenga.
So the alley behind it has a house.
Where?
Cahuenga and Riverside.
It is not on Auckland Avenue.
No.
Thank you.
No, it's okay.
I have a comment. I just think about noise, and this is an example of where the neighborhood council's my recommended conditions kind of thing would be to suggest, that the occupants of the residents surrounding the proposal should be notified. And I think Tess said that up top. Yeah, I think this should be, that was my comment.
I believe that's a requirement of their application.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we have to always be careful because drawing 500 feet from a particular project sometimes
I'm not suggesting that.
people out. But I think in this case, why they have a requirement that they notify the people. I think it's within 500 feet.
Whatever it is, I'm familiar. I'm not familiar with what the municipal or our municipal code says, but I know for other cities, sometimes it's just the owners. And so I just want the neighborhood council to be.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I'll look in the packet that we got. I'll look at all the pages, and usually there's a list of a mailing list of who was notified. I'll double check that it's there.
Cool. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Back to you, Fred.
Okay, well, that wasn't bad. Hey, under 90 minutes, we got this done, and I think it was a very good meeting. Thank you all for coming and your time. I guess the meeting is adjourned, and the time is 7:52. We will see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, right? For the meeting.
Yes.
And again, for our club meeting next, the date on that is March 14th, another day on the 14th on Monday. So thanks again and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.